Alright, this is part 2 of my Horror Nights history for Halloween Horror Nights 21. And I think it may take a little bit longer than 20 the way I'm going on, but I did a little bit of background and defending Lady Luck's honour and saying that I thought it was a better year than 2010. Gave a bit of that in the previous video. I mentioned that there was, again, a bit of a change up from the original concept. I've heard some rumors about it involving islands and some rumors about another icon, but I've never been able to substantiate that ever. So I don't know how true any of that is. But I do know that they originally did not plan an IP house. What house got removed for that IP house, I don't know either. There hasn't really been a VIP lounge since then to find that out, although I did spend a lot of time with Michael Aiello going through houses that year, and there's a reason for that involving Lady Luck, but and in good luck, but that will come. That sort of question was not answered exactly. We don't know what might have been the IP house, what might have been an original house instead that year, except of course all that changed. Another change, of course, Michael Aiello, who had previously, his biggest job had been directing and writing Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, got his big promotion to run creative, and thus he's involved in new shows, new theme park attractions, new areas. He's heavily involved in the whole Diagon Alley thing, for example. I'm sure he's hard at work on something that's Fast and Furious right now. but also Halloween Horror Nights. He became the showrunner, so to speak. So he kind of stands for that now. So that was another change. But of course, when the whole thing started, we didn't know any of that. In fact, we were wondering what was going on and waiting to see if we got any more mysterious leaks. In fact, in April of 2011, guess who, me, made a silly video, a couple of them, about all secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 21 revealed. Oh, and I was saying, oh yeah, it's going to be XXI, extreme explicit intense, and made that whole silly story up about an all-adult event. That was a silly joke. There was some irony about that. When certain things that I joked about coincidentally happened in a way, or sort of similar to what I talked about, but it was pure coincidence, and the kids who got scared that they may not get in because they're under 18 or something, or people who thought they might have their cameras taken away, you know, it was a load of crap. It was just me having one on for April Fools. That's all that was, and I apologize that anyone took it seriously, but you know, check your calendar. Make sure it's not April 1st. That was the first year I did that, and you know, I didn't know anything about the event at all when I made that. I didn't even know that they would be changing the numbering system. Remember, I did the whole XXI nonsense. Well, Halloween Horror Nights 21 was the first year they dropped the Roman numerals once and for all. The previous year, of course, you saw the double X, right? HHN. They actually use HHN in the promotions. Well, that changed. It has Halloween Horror Nights 21, and you notice they put it in the Arabic numerals 2 and 1, and also they've got in a nifty little spade, playing card trump spade. You know, that thing with the 21 inside. The spade, of course, of the 4 trumps and standard playing cards, the diamond, the club, and the heart and the spade. The spade is one of the most ominous associations. Goes back to the tarot, where there originally were coins or money or discs or pentacles, depending on which discs. Sometimes they're even like nuts. Those are the hearts, ultimately. Actually, those are the diamonds. The hearts were originally cups, like chalices, and the clubs originally batons or wands or sticks, you know, wands, magic wands, whatever you want to call them, and the spades originally were swords, you know, big pointy things, swords being weapons, And of course, there was a lot of the sword cards had the association of death and destruction. You know, like the Ten of Swords had this guy with the swords impaled in his body. You know, scary. So, or the Three of Swords. You know, the heart being pierced by three swords. The whole idea that, you know, heartbreak, and you know, that there were ominous associations. And even though playing cards, the modern playing cards, are not quite the same as the old tarot cards, the greater trumps are gone, and just the minor arcana has been transformed into the 52 card deck we know today. Nevertheless, there are still some hangovers from that, and so we look at that particular spade, the spade suit of cards as being a bit ominous. You know, gypsies will shudder a bit when they pull one of those out during a reading or something. And of course there's always this card, which is the scariest of the lot. And we'll get to that too. But anyway, so I didn't have any idea that they were going to change the Roman numerals up to the regular Arabic numerals, so the standard decimal system we use today. But what about clues? What about leaks? Did that happen, 21? You bet it did. You bet it did. And of course there was our dear friend Emmerich Belasco, who that previous year had filled us in about stuff with some clues, being cryptic, the first cryptic clue giver of Horror Nights, basically. Emmerich Belasco, early in 2011, posted on his Facebook that he was going to start doing clues through Twitter from now on, so you should take a look at Twitter instead of Facebook. And I didn't pay too much attention because I thought, well, it'd still pop up on Horror Night Nightmares. I'm not worried about that. Then suddenly he's gone from Horror Night Nightmares. Apparently, I'm using the male pronoun here because Emmerich Belasco is a masculine persona. I am not saying the real person was a man or a woman. I'm not going to reveal anything about the real person at all because that would be wrong. There's a reason that the person who called themselves Emmerich Belasco maintains their privacy, and so I have to respect that. So, going on with it, apparently Emmerich contacted Mark Masserone, the admin of Horror Night Nightmares, and said, take me off your site, ban me, I guess, however you want to say, get me off of there because I'm not going to, you know, I have reasons. And he may have told him the reasons but didn't want to explain it to the public at large. So he disappeared from Nightmares and he removed his Facebook and had told people Twitter. Well, apparently before that happened, he contacted 7 persons. 7 persons on Horror Night Nightmares. And he picked them because they were fairly prominent in the Horror Night Nightmares forums. Well known amongst the fan community, and people who would be, some of them, in positions to pass information on to the public at large or to the fan community at large. And he picked them out for those reasons, and there's another reason that they had active Twitter accounts. And he personal message, direct message, whatever you want to call it, I believe through Nightmares, these people, and told them when the clues start, they're going to come through Twitter, and you will know me on Twitter under a different name. And you will know when you get the tweet that it's for me when I put a code word into that tweet. Then you know it's for me. And then from then on, you'll receive direct messages through Twitter for the actual clues, and you can discuss them amongst the others who are playing, but do not go beyond that, and do not tell anyone where you got it from except that it was from some mysterious source, and then you can send the actual clues out to the public and post them. Of course, immediately they broke the rules because they all contacted me. I don't know if they contacted anyone else, but they all contacted me and wanted me to play along, even though I wasn't one of the 7. As a matter of fact, I do know who Emmerich Belasco was. I'm not going to tell you, though. But I did ask this person why I wasn't one of the 7. And he said, you didn't have a Twitter. That makes sense. I got a Twitter as soon as I found out this was going on. As soon as it was going on, I got a Twitter, and but it was too late. And that's why I got the Twitter in 2011, in case you're wondering. That's when I first got my Twitter account. So, just like I first got a Facebook to play Legendary Truth. Otherwise, I might not have ever gotten one. So, Belasco gave out this code word, and because of this, not because of this, I know what that code word was. It was porphyry, which is a sort of stone, like marble, but it's sort of reddish, purpley coloured. It's often used for like cerements, for funeral stones, that sort of mausoleum type work, and memorial things. Especially in the 19th century, it's associated with romantic poetry. Edgar Allan Poe used the word a lot. And that might have been a clue in just in that alone, you know, cemeteries, 19th century Poe, all that stuff might have been a bit of a clue. Porphyry has some romantic associations, poetry. And so, but one of the 7 people have been selected, and the 7 people included people like Jeremy, who was a moderator at J.W. Fearman, as he used to call himself, JDW nowadays, a moderator at the Horror Night Nightmares, Mystic Freak, very well known throughout the fan community, smart girl, sharp cookie. There was Charles Bremer, who formerly of Designing the Fear. At that time, it was before that ever happened. Dr. Raymond Holmes, he calls himself sometimes, but well known in the fan community. There was also Chad over at HHN Rumors, I think Mark at Nightmares, and a few other people. One of them was Cody, that's Reaper, who is also a moderator at Nightmares. And when he got this, he didn't understand exactly what the rules were, apparently. He thought that this was a clue he was supposed to post, and he posted it on Nightmares where everybody could see it, giving away the porphyry code word. As a result, he got dropped from the 7, and somebody else got put in his place. I don't remember who it was, but whoever it was, they got to play along too, and he didn't. And new code word was then designated. I know the code word was Nightingale. I know this because everybody told me, because they thought, well, we're going to get clues, we need to get Dr. Jimmy to help us solve the clues. So they all, not all of them, but several of them contacted me, more than one, at least 3, I think 4 or 5 of them contacted me, and I was actually communicating with them as part of this group, puzzling over the clues to try to figure them out and work them out. So, and Liz was another one of these 7 people. So there were actually 8 of us working on these clues before they got to the public, and then we would give our own theories of what they might be. Although I didn't have a Twitter and I didn't get them directly. So the word was going to be Nightingale. And then, of course, shortly after that, sometime in the summer, I think it was, of 2011, these 7 people got a tweet, you know, in their Twitter feed from somebody called Autumn Wind. Now, a female persona, Autumn Wind, therefore I'm going to stop calling he and start saying she, only because the character they were playing, Emmerich Belasco, was male and Autumn Wind was female. Thus, we don't know, actually I do, but I'm not saying, the person in question was either a male or a female. I will say that, it was either male or female. So, it wasn't someone intersexual. Not that there are any intersexuals that would be in a position to know all the stuff about Orlando. There might be, but I don't know of one personally. So we have then now Autumn Wind saying that, oh, she's completing her nursing school, she's earning her Nightingale pin. Nightingale itself is a clue, by the way, and even the nursing thing was a bit of a clue too, but you didn't know that yet. And then they started receiving these direct messages with the clues, and there were ultimately 9 clues. 8 of them were clues to each, 8 clues for each of the houses, and the 9th one a clue for the icon. And they were all done in the form of verse. There were 8 rhymed couplets, and then one a little bit longer poem at the end. And there was, I don't remember them off the top of my head, I can't do the verses, but I do know that each one contained some clues as to the house. For example, there was one referencing, oh, I don't remember his name, he writes the Artemis Fowl books. I don't have an Artemis Fowl book nearby, so I don't remember the author. But he mentioned him, the guy who writes that book, a guy, Steve Jobs and Peter Falk, in one thing. And you're wondering, what do these three have in common? Well, that British author, children's author, had written a book called Yet Another Thing. Steve Jobs often would say, and another thing. And of course, on Columbo, Peter Falk had a whole running gag. He would leave the room, and then the criminal would try to hide the evidence, and then he'd come back in unexpectedly, and another thing. And then he'd catch him trying, and then that's how he caught the criminals half the time, by leaving the room, and if I thought he'd left the premises, and then he comes right back in. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about my wife, and another thing. And so that phrase, another thing, the three have in common. Aha, another thing house. Now we get it. See, that was easy. Some of them were not so much. There was a poem about mysterious blue light on a winter night. What did that mean? There was one about Mila Nurmi, who of course played Vampira in those old, was the in Plan 9 from Outer Space, but originally was a horror hostess. And the other one was that Count, what was his name? Count something. From the Second City Television. There was a comedy skit about a very bad horror host, but still the idea of horror television hosts was in that clue. There was one about, all in Spanish, one of the couplets was all in Spanish, about 4 ships sailing and then only 3 coming back. So you understand it was a reference, and there were some things about 1492 or something in there. So you understand it's talking about the legend that Columbus had a 4th ship that never returned. You know, these are the sort of clues that give you an idea of what these houses might be. I guess the sort of hint about the theme or something about the house would come in that way. So we began to figure these out. There'd be a house that's another thing house. There'd be something about a horror host, like they used to have on television. Something about Columbus's ships, one of them being lost at sea. You know, we'd figured bit by bit something that was clearly about Edgar Allan Poe, something about a blue light in the winter in the cemetery, maybe. You know, things we started to figure this out. What were these houses? And of course, the final clue had 4 lines, and the first letter of each line were L, U, C, K, therefore they spelled luck, you see. So that was a way of telling us about the icon. And these were given out over a series of weeks in the middle of, I think, July or something, or June, whenever it was. And so that way we sort of got some of this information. But there were other leaks. One of the more intriguing ones came, you remember back in 2008, there were some people behind the scenes that got pictures from the commercial with Bloody Mary, and they got to see what Bloody Mary looked like, and these were all handed around behind the scenes. Ha ha ha, they knew. And in 2009 there was a triangular diagram which gave a lot of the IPs and the usher, so people knew about that. But I can now say, it's been 5 freaking years, so it's probably safe to say it now. Back in 2011, there was a full rough cut of video file of the commercial for Halloween Horror Nights 21 going around behind the scenes, and people were handing it to each other. Oh look, this is the TV commercial, don't tell anyone, we don't want anyone to get fired over this. Here you can see it, and it shows of course Lady Luck with her long green dress and her hair and her spinning wheel and her green ring on her finger and her black and white raven. In the commercial, it's a black and white crow, an African black and white crow, but it's supposed to be a raven. It's in the artwork on the T-shirt, it's black, but when you do television filming, very often you're limited to what kind of bird you can use. And if you're using a real bird, often you have to use one of these black and white crows. There's some sort of law about that, I don't know why. So you got that flying by. That's why they sometimes show up in these commercials and things on telly. So there was that, and of course the poor bastard to the spinning wheel that she tortures, and then the final scene of the face that wasn't quite human, showing that she's got more than one face. All of that in that TV ad. It didn't have Luck Be a Lady though. It had some other music. I don't remember who it was, but it was some other song that was playing background, sort of country pop type thing. That had nothing to do with the character and was not used at the event. But it was just put in there to give some music for the commercial, so we got to see Lady Luck's face in advance. Those of us who were handing that commercial around behind the scene and going, ooh, that's the icon. That's how we knew it was Lady Luck. And so when somebody says, oh no, it's going to be a Grim Reaper, we say, it's going to be Lady Luck. And they say, no, it's not. It's like, well, we kind of know it is. All right.